Hello, welcome to this week's Dog Friendly Doggy Podcast.
The Doggy Podcast with Steve and James.
In a couple of weeks' time, we launched the 2024 Dog Friendly Awards, and we're delighted today to have with us Sue Allen. Sue is actually the 5-time winner of the Dog Friendly Awards for the Best Dog Friendly Cottages and Self-Catering. She has won the award with her agency East Ruston Cottages and counts 43 very dog-friendly properties on her books. Before we chat to Sue, Steve, you started the Dog Friendly Awards 13 years ago purely to promote dog-friendly places and services. How did you start that, and how has it changed over the last few years?
Well, we started Dog Friendly, as you know, over 20 years ago, actually. And during the first 10 years, it was really quite hard work to convince businesses that opening their doors to dogs would actually benefit their business in many ways, not just from a revenue and profit point of view, but also from an atmospheric point of view. But I use the phrase open for dogs because we started working with the Kennel Club and supported their Open for Dogs campaign many years ago. And Lynn and I decided that there really ought to be a way that as dog owners, we recognise the fact that some of these businesses have really gone the extra mile to welcome our dogs. And let's face it, next to our children, our dogs are the most important member of our family. We wanted to be able to say thank you. And one way to do that was to start the awards. And the awards involved two things, really. One, voting to say thank you, but whilst voting, being given the opportunity to say why we were voting to say thank you. And those reviews, and anybody coming onto our website can see the reviews that are linked to businesses that have been voted for in the awards. We'll see that those reviews are really heartfelt. And not only do they help the businesses get more customers, but they also help the businesses from the point of view of feeling good. There is nothing like receiving a compliment from somebody. And if that somebody is a customer, it makes you feel as though you've done your job properly. And we found the awards grew year on year. Originally, we had it at the Discover Dogs show, which was run by the Kennel Club in London. And more recently, after a couple of virtual events where James, you and I sat remotely in our kitchens and had a virtual awards event, which was great fun, but obviously being in person is better. And we, for the last, this will be our third year at the Kennel Club head office in London, where we hold the awards event.
Steve, remind us how the awards actually works.
Right, it's really simple. The awards are run on our website, www.dogfriendly.co.uk. If you want to read about the awards, then at the end of that web address, type /awards, and that will take you to the landing page to explain how the awards work. But in very simple terms, anybody can vote in the awards. They can find the business that they want to vote for on our database by searching for it. If they can't find the business because it's not on there, then they can recommend that business, in effect nominate it for the awards, and it will be listed on our website. And then once they've found the business on our website, there's a big yellow button that says vote for in the Dog Friendly Awards. Click on that and you will be invited and encouraged to leave a review as to why you're voting for that business, and then press submit and your vote will be counted.
And that's any sort of dog-friendly businesses, so accommodation, places to visit, but also it's dog services such as groomers and dog sitters.
Yes, we introduced the extra categories a few years ago because it wasn't just places to stay that our members wanted to say thank you to. It was other pet businesses as well. And as you say, we've got a whole range now. In fact, we have over 20 categories, including pubs, your most dog-friendly town. It was keenly fought and very close in the end between Bury St Edmunds and Girvan in Scotland. Girvan were the winners. But this year it's going to be interesting to see because dog owners are very proud about their local town and they want to shout about it if it's dog friendly. So we'll see how it goes this year.
So we're delighted to have Sue Allen with us today, who has won the award for the Best Dog Friendly Cottages and Self-Catering 5 times. So it's so good to have you here today, Sue.
Thank you for inviting me. Really pleased to be here.
Sue, you've got East Ruston Cottages agency, very dog-friendly properties. Just tell us a little bit about yourself in about a minute or so.
So basically, I set up East Ruston Cottages based on my experiences for holidaying in the UK and what I wanted with my dogs, and my friends' dogs would often come along as well. So when I got the opportunity, I set up East Ruston Cottages really from scratch with very little knowledge, but I just wanted to welcome people with dogs to this part of Norfolk because I've lived here for so long with my dogs. I totally get it. I totally understand it. And I really wanted to be able to have people come and visit, enjoy Norfolk as much as I do, bring their dogs, relax, genuinely feel welcomed. And that's what we've been focusing on for the last 16 years.
The first thing to mention is that all your cottages are in Norfolk, I believe. And it's often said that Norfolk is one of the, if not the most dog-friendly county in the UK. What do you think makes Norfolk so dog-friendly, Sue?
I think it's got a lot to do with the beach. We've got 90 miles of sort of joined up coastline that you can access pretty much all the way around the county. A lot of it's sandy, a lot of it's very quiet and tucked away. So that's definitely a big draw. Everyone loves to come down to the beach and let their dogs run on the beach. And there's very, very few areas where there's any restrictions as well. So that helps. I think also it's a county that's sort of tucked away, isn't it? We're sort of, you have to come right out to get to Norfolk, and that keeps it quieter. And I think another real benefit is we don't have a lot of livestock. We grow a lot of potatoes here and wheat and barley and that sort of stuff. So you haven't got lots of fields full of sheep to worry about. You haven't got sort of stone walls to keep climbing over, which is lovely in the hilly areas, but we can walk around here very, very easily with dogs. There's loads and loads of joined up footpaths and stuff. So I think it's the general sort of space, the coastline and the quiet dog walking is what seems to attract most people, definitely.
So you've got dogs yourself, Sue.
I have, yep.
You know the particular areas of Norfolk really well. So what is your favourite go-to place in Norfolk? Is it nearby or do you have to travel a bit?
My definite favourite is a little bit further up the coastline from where most of the cottages are, but it's well worth the trip. It's a place called Stiffkey, or Stewkey as it's called locally. And it's really special. It kind of brings together lots of what Norfolk is about. It's actually a marshy area, and that leads out onto the beach. So once you start walking across that lovely marshy area, and then you get onto the beach, you're kind of in the middle of nature. You hear lots of seabirds flying over. You reach the sea. It's very open. There's massive, great sky because obviously it's really flat. Really is quite a special place. I mean, you get it very muddy, I have to say, with a little hairy border terrier. There's a lot of washing off to be done at the end of a walk there, but it's a really beautiful place. And then further down the coastline, more in the area that we've got the cottages, there's a place called Winterton as well. And that's another one that's really special because the beach is so lovely. And again, you've got quite a lot of inland area of dunes. They're grassy dunes. And so you've got lots of choices for places to walk. And again, you're kind of out there away from a lot of people, away from buildings. So it's those places in Norfolk where you can sort of get away and feel really very, very relaxed and quiet. And so, yeah, Stiffkey and Winterton would definitely be my two favourites.
Somebody on our dog friendly weekend last weekend, and he was actually from Winterton. It's obviously, he says Norfolk, everywhere's dog friendly, pubs, shops. Is that generally the case in Norfolk?
It really is the case. I mean, it's, people sort of sometimes ask us, can you recommend anywhere that's dog friendly to eat? And I was like, well, it's actually easier to tell you the ones that aren't dog friendly, because most of them are. We've got all sorts of independent cafes around the area, sort of up and down the coast, independent pubs as well. And to be honest, if they didn't accept dogs, they probably wouldn't get the business because, dogs come here on holiday, locals have got dogs. And it's just a thing that everyone sort of seems to accept. I mean, we've even got some lovely cafes up and down this coast where they've got individual little beach huts as part of the cafe setup. So if you want to go and sit in a little separate bit with your dog, or you've got a reactive dog or something, you can sort of sit away from the main area. But it's just a thing that is very accepted here in Norfolk. Yeah, everywhere is dog friendly, and shops included as well. And there's dog parks all over the place, and most people accept that dogs are allowed everywhere. So it's great. We just sort of take it for granted, basically, that it's that dog friendly.
Have you lived in Norfolk all your life, Sue, or is this a gem that you've discovered?
No, I've lived here for 40 years, so a substantial part of my life, but I lived in Surrey before that. But having moved here, I would never live anywhere else. I mean, I've traveled around the country with my dogs a lot to various places, and I have got some favorites around the country, but here I think is particularly special. So yeah, I will be staying here for the rest of my life. Definitely.
You've mentioned that you've got dogs, Sue. Have you always had dogs?
I probably had dogs for, I would say, about 30 years, maybe 35 years. I didn't have them before I moved up here, but it didn't take long to get them when I was here. So yeah, I've had them for a fair while.
And what dogs do you have at the moment?
I have my little border terrier Mabel, scruffy little thing that she is. She's absolutely brilliant. Typical border terriers, you know them. Really just loves her people to pieces. So she's adorable. She is reactive though, which is something then that we can sort of, is why we can explain to people with reactive dogs the best places to go, because I've got that experience. We've also got Ernie, who's a little Romanian rescue. He's a little chunky chap. They're just great. They're fantastic together. They really, and they're a joy to walk on the beaches as well. Bless them.
As you probably know, Sue, I've got a border terrier,
I do.
Stanley, and he's very reactive as well. So yeah, he's a real character. And yeah, we always have to find special places that there aren't so many people walking past, because he particularly likes barking as people walk past him wherever we go to a pub or something like that. So talking about East Ruston Cottages, how did this all start, and what did you do before you started this agency?
So before I was a PA, sort of secretary PA, and just really didn't like it very much. I'm not very employable, I don't think. I don't like sort of rules and turning up to places on time, obviously apart from this podcast. So yes, it was a job, and it enabled me to sort of learn about computers and typing stuff and emails, all that kind of stuff. So those were some skills from that job I was able to take into this. But what happened to start ERC was that we'd regularly go away to various places with our dogs, and we'd have our friends' dogs as well. So we might have 4 dogs between us. And it was just really, really hard to find places that were properly dog welcoming, properly wanted us there, if you like. Sometimes we had to pay a lot of money for the dog. Sometimes we had to tell a little bit of a white lie about how many we were taking. Sometimes we'd pitch up and there'd be a load of rules. Other times we'd pitch up and it was just dog-eared because we had dogs. So we kind of had that experience going on. And then we got an opportunity to develop a barn that we bought next to our house. And I thought, right, what are we going to do with this? We're going to make this a holiday let, and we're going to make it as dog friendly as we would really like it to be. So that's how we set up the original one. And at the time, I was also doing the changeover cleans for another cottage in the village that belonged to a friend of mine. So I thought, right, okay, well, I've got this one that I'm cleaning, I've got this one that I own. I'll just set up a little website. Got a friend of mine who's actually one of my current owners to set up the website, and just sort of started it from there with really no knowledge at all. If I knew then what I know now, I probably would have done some things differently. But it just started like that, really, from our experience of not being able to find truly dog welcoming holiday properties, and then thinking, right, what do we want? What that we can offer to other people. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, very interesting. It's all these friendly businesses seem to start in the same way. Couldn't find the places, the same as dogfriendly.co.uk. Couldn't find the place to take our dogs, or they didn't provide what we needed. You've got 43 properties now. How did it go from 2 properties to 43? Was it all just hard work, or was there a sudden event that happened to help that along?
No, it was basically people asking us, to join. That was really quite easy to grow it. Certainly when we started off, I think our bookings in our first year were really, really good. Well over 50%, considering I wasn't even sure about how we were going to market it and stuff. So then I had people that I know locally saying, oh, I've got a holiday property, Sue, would you add it to East Ruston Cottages? And I'd say, well, as long as you're properly dog welcoming, and you fit the criteria. So it actually grew fairly organically. And over the years, I've sort of put a cap on the number of properties that I can manage based on what I can actually physically do, and the team members I've got. So some of my longer term owners even now sort of say to me, oh, Sue, do you remember when you said you weren't going to have any more than 20? And so, but it sort of grows bit by bit. We've actually, interestingly enough, we've had a little bit of a kind of tidying up process over the last couple of years. And I think we're now probably ready for another bit of a growth spurt. So yeah, it's it's been quite organic, really. There are a lot of properties out there now, I think, who are really understanding the difference between being just dog friendly and truly dog welcoming. So, there's opportunity to grow, definitely.
So you say, well, a couple of times actually, you've used the phrase properly or truly dog welcoming. How difficult was it in the early days to try and make sure that those properties on your books were truly dog welcoming?
I think it was probably a little bit more of a struggle back then, because if, when a new owner would come on board and you'd say to them, right, I'd like you to be able to accept 4 or 5 dogs, they'd sort of gulp and go, oh no, we were only thinking about 2. And I'd have to say, well, no, that's, we've got to be more dog friendly than that. And sort of explaining things to people about, fence heights and stuff, and having dogs on the furniture. And it was more tricky originally, although I have to say I had a couple of owners who jumped on board straight away and totally got it, and really sort of embraced the whole idea. But it has become easier now to explain, because I think, people know that, or starting to understand that there is a difference between sort of dog friendly, that is basically dog tolerant, and you charge some extra money but you don't provide anything, and then right at the top of the scale there's truly dog welcoming, where it's all about the dogs. And we don't have any bookings really without dogs. So if anyone wants to join us, I really have to sort of explain to them that you've got to be top of the market. And I think slowly also some of the owners, they might have their initial concerns about taking a lot of dogs, but they slowly learn that it's actually works out really, really well. And I think our record at one of the properties was 19 dogs.
How does that happen?
Well, it was some regulars of ours who are they're dog professionals, they're dog care professionals. They train them, they rehome them, they do all sorts of things. So they've always got a whole load of dogs. I think 19 was the most they'd ever had. They'd come to us with like 12 and I think 14 in the past, but they've got, properly kitted out dog vans and all the rest of it. But when I told the owner of this particular property, who welcomes unlimited dogs, that she was getting 19, she did sort of gulp. But, they leave the places really clean and tidy, because they just know that there's very few places where they are going to be genuinely welcome with that many dogs. So yeah, there was really nothing to worry about. I mean, that is unusual. We don't ever have that kind of level. Normally we sort of somewhere between 1 and 6 is probably about standard for most bookings. But yeah, that was an exceptional one.
So far, we've talked about how positive the experience is of having dogs in the properties. Have you ever had any challenges with having dogs in the properties over the period that you've run the company?
I suppose the only ones really have been perhaps if they've, if a guest has left a dog unattended and they've been stressed. That's probably one of the ones that it does present the most challenges. I mean, we do say to people, you can leave your dogs unattended in the properties as long as you are sure that they won't be stressed. You're the dog's carer, you need to be responsible. So perhaps a couple of times we've had that happen, and we've had the owners who perhaps they live on site or next door, and they're saying, Sue, the dogs are barking, and we've had to, or the neighbour has even, and we've had to sort of say, terribly sorry, can you come back? Your dogs are stressed and barking, or there might be a bit of noise in the garden. But really not too many at all, and usually if there are problems like that, they're fairly easily managed. So I would say generally, it's considering how many bookings with dogs we've had over 16 years, we've had very few problems.
So you wouldn't ever give any preferential treatment to any of your cottages, but is there any particular ones that you get really excited about, that you would say this is in a really nice place, or has some really great examples of dog-friendly facilities?
Yes, I would actually. We've got 2 that are owned by the same owner in a little village, and they've both got garages attached to them. And the garages have been described as being like a dog shop, because there's so much stuff in the garages that are for the dogs. There's buggies, there's crates, there's mud daddies, there's grooming equipment, there's raised feeding bowls. It's, if you can think about it for your dog, it's in those garages. So those 2 are great, because they're completely obsessed with dogs, and really, really well provided for. And they've got things like, non-slip flooring in the in the properties, as well as all the extra bits and pieces, dog bowls and poo bags and biscuits, etc. So those are two that are kind of I get quite excited about. And then we have got some absolutely gorgeous barns. We took one on recently, and there was another one that we've had for a while. In fact, yes, there's three really gorgeous barns, and they're the sort of things that sort of luxury accommodation. If they were on another website, they would be the sort of top end and what have you. But and people are surprised that we can offer such dog welcoming accommodation at such a high level, beautifully fitted out inside, lovely furniture, super secure gardens as well. That's the thing that is really key. They've got really nice outside areas. One of them's got an orchard, another one's just got a lovely big grass area with 6-foot high fencing plus. So I think we've got a really good range, and I quite like a couple of the other little ones as well. We've got two small ones on the same site, and they're beautiful inside, and they've got an enclosed courtyard, they've got a hot tub, and then there's a shared dog paddock on site as well. So they've really got everything. My owners are so focused on it now that they just they're providing as much as they possibly can to really welcome dogs, but make the humans obviously feel welcome as well.
You won the Dog Friendly Awards first in 2018. So how did you go about getting the votes for your business?
We asked our guests on a regular basis. So, it'd be by social media. We'd put it out there and say, can you vote for us? We'd send them emails. We might put something, I think I put something on the bottom of our email signature just to say, here's the link if you'd like to vote for us. I'm pretty sure some of my owners sort of shared the request as well. We just put it out there in as many different places as possible, just inviting people to vote for us. And we did it on a fairly regular basis as well, and that seems to have worked. And that's what I love about your awards. It's about the fact that your customers are the ones stepping up to vote for you, and that's what counts. If we've made them happy, they're going to vote for us. So that's a really good result in our eyes.
So you've won 5 times. How do you think that has helped your business and got the sort of dog friendly nature of your business out there?
Hugely. I think it's a really, really positive thing to be doing and to win. Absolutely brilliant. It's so nice to be able to put it out there. I think we put it on the bottom of our email signature. We put it out there on social media. It's included in things like our, all sorts of places like our digital guides and stuff. Just to say that we have won that many times an award it's a UK-wide award as well, isn't it? From an organisation such as yourself, I think it's definitely a real plus point.
Have you won other awards, Sue?
No, we haven't won any other awards, simply because we haven't entered any other awards, because a lot of them seem to require you to pay to enter, sometimes quite a lot of money. And I think, well, a lot of them also are more about the hospitality industry generally, whereas we really want to focus on the dog friendly side of it. So we only really enter your one. We've been mentioned in sort of the press and media quite a few times, and that's not an award, but that definitely counts for us as well. If we're getting sort of national mentions, is a bit of a winner as far as I'm concerned too.
So we know you promote quite heavily about understanding reactive dogs and extra provisions for them when they go on holiday. You've mentioned a little bit of this, but can you give a bit more detail on what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So we get a lot of people now, especially since sort of, after lockdown, everything, people getting the dogs and the huge number of dogs growing, and they're not being desperately well socialized. And so I think the reactive dog community has grown a lot, and we get people asking for advice, because I think there is definitely a level of anxiety involved in if you've got to try and book somewhere for your holiday and you've got a reactive dog. You are more focused on what's going to happen and whether that dog's going to be relaxed or not. So we get a lot of questions about that. It's great because we can, obviously based on my own experience with a reactive dog, I can tell people where the best places are to go, where they're likely to have a quieter walk, or advise on which cottage to choose. If a dog is, I know not all dogs are reactive to the same thing. They might be reactive to other dogs, or to people, or to noises, or to traffic. So if somebody can tell me what their dog is reactive to, then I can help them choose the right property. And I'm more than happy to say to them, no, don't choose that one. Don't go to that one, because that's not going to suit you. Maybe choose this one, because based on what you're telling me about your dog, I can tell you that there'll be nobody coming past the windows, or there's no other dogs next door or anything like that. So that's that's because we know all the properties really well, and we know the area really well, and obviously I know what having a reactive dog is like. So that's definitely a plus point, and we get asked about that an awful lot. And as far as the sort of provisions and things, we've always provided crates across the board. You know, whether a property's got crates or not, we've got our own supply of crates. So if you want to crate your dog, because that's what they used to, then we're fine with that. We can supply the right size crate. And buggies has become a really popular thing as well. I guess, again, because you've got a lot of people have got elderly dogs or very young dogs, or they've recently had an operation or something, but they want to go out and enjoy the walks. So the dog buggy thing has definitely grown. And again, it's not just down to the individual properties having buggies, although several of them have. We've got a sort of supply of buggies now, the biggest collection of buggies I think I've ever seen, that we can distribute out between all over the cottages if people want them. So I think we're delivering one today because somebody's dog's hurt their paw. So we're popping one down to them. But it's all those sorts of things, and sofa steps we do, and car ramp.
Stanley, if I was booking a holiday for Stanley, would you be able to tell me where there are places where there's no Dalmatians? Because that's his thing. So you might have to do a bit of research on that before we come and visit you.
Can't guarantee the lack of Dalmatians, but I could certainly tell you where they're less likely to be.
One of the common questions we now get about places to stay around the UK is where can I take my dog around November the 5th to avoid fireworks? Is Norfolk potential for that?
Oh, definitely. We get a lot of bookings for both of the firework periods, sort of New Year and Bonfire Night. And that's, I mean, part of that is because we are very rural and, you know, small villages, and obviously we've got the North Sea. It doesn't really have many fireworks, and because we've got so many coastal properties, that's kind of 50% of the area that isn't going to have any fireworks. We don't really have any organised displays around here. We're not near to any big towns. It's possible that some of the villages, somebody in the village will have some fireworks, but the difference here in Norfolk is they don't go on for days and days and days, and they don't go on into silly hours of the night. You know, they're small rural and coastal communities that just historically don't have a huge number of fireworks. And I think people, when they come here, they might hear somebody in the distance down the road having, you know, a garden firework thing, and that's it basically. So we get a lot of really particularly repeat guests coming back for fireworks night, definitely.
So what's next for East Ruston? Are there more properties going to be on the books? Are you moving into areas outside Norfolk, or are you still concentrating on the Norfolk area? And if so, why?
I'm going to stay concentrated on the Norfolk area. We are often asked if we can spread out to other areas of the UK. But I think if you're going to do that properly, if you're going to go into other areas of the UK and identify what we know about Norfolk, if you like, identify where the dog-friendly beaches are, or the best walks and the pubs and cafes and all the rest of it, that's quite a big job. That's almost like setting up different, you know, companies around the UK, or really expanding East Ruston Cottages. And I am coming up to a sort of significantly large birthday, and I don't particularly want to work a great deal harder. So we are staying in Norfolk. There will probably be some more properties added. I'm going to be sort of trying to take a little bit more of a back seat, and getting lovely Georgie, who works with me, to sort of step up and do a bit more, because she's absolutely fantastic. She knows Norfolk really well and has got dogs herself, brilliant with customers and all the rest of it. So yeah, we're going to stay in Norfolk. I think it would get too complicated and a bit too sort of spread out if we went out to other parts of the country. Though we're looking also maybe at possibly a sort of consultancy idea as well, but that's very early stages.
This year, probably more than ever, we're getting feedback from dog owners that properties in the UK for holidays, prices have gone through the roof, and they're struggling to afford them with the current sort of financial difficulties. Have you seen prices increase dramatically, or is it just a feeling that we've all got?
No, prices have definitely gone up. I think obviously because, you know, you think of the holiday owners' costs have gone up fairly substantially as well, like all of our costs have. We were actually operating a dynamic pricing system for a while, and I just got uncomfortable with it being, you know, the prices really did get quite high. So we've gone back to manual pricing, which has taken us quite a lot of work to set up, but it's made the prices a bit more sort of in line with each other. We brought them down a fair bit. I've also asked our owners if they want to set up their own pricing, which can create a little bit of chaos, but actually does mean that they can sort of set them at a level that they're comfortable with. We do a couple of sort of discount type things as well, so people can, so if they join the mailing list, can get a discount. If they're repeat guests, they get a discount. So yeah, we're very mindful of that, and having manual pricing means that we can sort of adjust it. But I think that is a perception, across the board really, that prices have gone up generally because the costs have gone up so much as well. The industry is actually facing quite a lot of challenges. I don't know if you're aware that there was a fire risk assessment ruling that came into being in October last year. And that meant that an awful lot of holiday home owners have to spend, well, the ones that are complying, there's an awful lot out there who haven't done the work and aren't complying, but the ones that are, and I made sure all of our property owners did, because it's about guest safety. But there were a lot of changes they had to make, all sorts of things, everything from thumb locks on the doors rather than relying on a key, to replacing doors with 1 inch thick proper fire doors. We lost 3 properties on the back of that ruling as well, because they just couldn't afford to do the work. So that made quite a big impact in the industry if people have actually done the right thing. So that created extra costs. And then, obviously they've got the electricity bills and the cleaning and the welcome packs and all the rest of it have gone up as well. As an agency, we've got to start submitting all our owner information to HMRC. So that's another kind of thing that we've got to do, and probably costs to employ somebody to do that. Then we've also got a registration scheme coming into play. That's going to be, I'm not quite sure what the timing of that is, but it's on route. And I suppose once we've got over the election and we know kind of who's in charge, we'll find out more about that. But that will mean that a lot of holiday rental properties will have to tick a lot of boxes and show that they've got all the right requirements. They get their chimneys swept properly, they've got proper insurance, they've actually got permission to be a holiday let, they've got the fire risk assessments in place, all of those things, and then they will get basically a registration number, and that will allow them to carry on. So there's going to be costs and work associated with that. So I think the market's going to be quite, in a year or two, it'll look quite different. I mean, there are a lot of people leaving the market, which is understandable, because they're just going, do you know what, it's all getting too tricky, the costs are getting too much.
I think the feeling that some of our members have expressed to us is that they're being taken advantage of because they've got dogs, but it isn't that case, is it?
Well, no, it's not. I mean, I think we've not gone into the dog friendly market to optimize the income, if you see what I mean. If we were to do that, if we charge for dogs, we've had tens of thousands of dogs stay over the years. Really, it must be something like 20,000-30,000 dogs, and we could have charged, if we charged a tenner for each of those, we'd have had all that extra money. But we're not doing that. We're genuinely welcoming them for free. We don't want to limit people and make them pay because they just happen to have a number of dogs, and we're trying to cost the properties according to the market generally.
So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here today to find out lots about Norfolk and lots about East Ruston, and obviously a reminder that you will be entering our Dog Friendly Awards competition, which will launch again in a couple of weeks. So thank you for that. And thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really, really good fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Steve.
To find out more about East Ruston Cottages and Sue Allen, visit eastrustoncottages.co.uk.
The Doggy Podcast with Steve and James.